Hi everyone, and welcome to another batch of Touch. This time we do episode 87 to 91, which is uh, the round four and quarterfinals of the season of the tournament.
Yeah, we do get through two games in the span of these 5 episodes, which is pretty rare
Yep,
for Touch. Usually there's a baseball game and then a long stretch of,
yep,
like
yep.
kind of rom-com, slice of life shenanigans. But we're moving pretty fast here. Not only do we
Yeah,
get through those two
we,
games, we
we
also know that Meisei's opponent in the top four will not be the team that we expected.
that's right, and that made me think of her whole series as a whole. The although Touch is like 101 episode, we don't see a lot of may say like rivalries. Or
Yeah,
we see like the two main rivalry, but it turned out that like one of them we don't get to see they playoffs. So it's really more about like slice of life instead of like the actual actual sports show.
yeah, it's mostly about Tatsuya and Minami's growth as characters. Their adolescence, how they handled the fact that they're approaching adulthood and what they
Yep,
do with everything they experience and everything they feel, especially in light of the fact that they suffered such a devastating loss
yep, yeah,
when
that's
they
true.
were still young teenagers. How they process it.
Yep,
And we get a lot of other characters who come alongside them,
yep.
and get to improve the series in their own unique ways. So it's
And
been
I
it's
must
been a
say,
lot of fun, but we're not done yet.
yeah, yeah, that's right. I got to say that this is a really good twist that like uh Ni- that Nishimura team lost. But before we get to that, let's get to number 87 first, where we see the another side of Kashiwaba, the romance,
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we learn
kind
more
of
about him
from the
from another person's account, from Reiko
yeah,
is her
that's
name,
right.
and it's Minami who ends up
Uh,
talking to her because she meets her at, I don't know, it's a bank, right?
it's the bank.
I
Yep,
think because at one point in one of these episodes, Minami's dad is like, "Oh man, I forgot to go to the bank. Can you go?" I think it was
yep,
that
yep,
one.
yep.
It's
That's
very
the one.
weird to me. Like, what is Minami gonna do at the bank? Does she have her dad's account number, and is she like super friendly with the
Yep.
teller who's gonna let her withdraw money for her father?
I think this is the opposite. Maybe she did deposit some money into the bank, but this is 1987 when we talk about that. So
Yeah.
like I figured that they don't have like any ATM yet at that point.
Oh, really?
I don't know, man.
I don't either. Anyway, she's at the bank and she sees Reiko.
I
Um,
oh
and there's
hold on. I yes. God.
there's an obvious parallel between Reiko and Minami, which is why Minami is the one to get the story out of her, because they are both
Yep.
young women. In high school, they were managers of the baseball teams. Um, there were two brothers who were both in love with each of them, and they chose a particular brother, and
Yep.
the other
The
one,
older one.
is that right? Tatsuya
Yeah,
is the older
Minami.
one, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, the older one, yeah. And the other one, I don't want to say suffered. I mean, it's not. I guess you could think of it as suffering, if you look at it from a particular angle. But the other one just, is impacted by that choice. They're like saddened, or it.
Yep.
It's incumbent upon you got a love triangle with two men and one woman. It's the woman who ought to make the choice. And despite that, I think both Reiko and Minami felt a little bit of regret about their decisions. Not that they
Yep.
wish that they were with the other guy or anything, but there's like a particular line that Reiko says to her, um, or maybe that Minami says to Reiko, but then there's a little stretch of silence between the two of them as they both reflect on what the other one has said, and it's it's pretty clear that they're like envisioning how things could have gone differently.
Yep.
Which for Minami, we don't know that much about Reiko. We know the broad strokes of the story now, but for Minami, she couldn't reciprocate the love that Kazuya had for her, and in light of his death, that must haunt her like from time to time. I'm sure she's still not over that.
Mm-hmm.
That she, a boy went to his grave, being in love with her, and she couldn't return it. That's really, that'll mess you up. And I think this episode acknowledges that, without getting too bogged down in it, which is important because Kazuya's influence, the influence of his death, should be felt on a regular basis.
Yep. I agree with you on that, and on the front of setting light to Kashiwaba, the coach, more hidden side. I don't see much of that because this is all that we know before, and he's still pretty much a question mark for us at the moment whether or not he wanted to he wanted to stop Messi from winning intentionally or kind of helping them to to achieve the goal.
Right.
Do you think that he's in conflict of that?
As of episode 87, or given what we know now, or just in general?
Give him what we know now.
Well,
because it's still a question mark for me as well.
Yeah, it is still ambiguous. But there's a scene in episode 91, this most recent one. I think it's episode 91.
Yep.
Is it
the one that he talked to the alumni people, right?
Yeah, the alumni of the baseball team.
Yep.
Yes, and he reveals his identity. That's the first time that he's done that. Obviously, he understands that Tatsuya and Minami know who he is, and he probably can infer that the principal does too. I don't know. Maybe he actually doesn't know whether the principal has caught on yet, because the principal is...
He doesn't care.
Yeah, well, the principal's feigning ignorance. But in any case, he knows that Tatsuya and Minami understand this about him, but this is the first time that he, of his own accord, has been like, guess what? I'm not my brother, and I still remember what you did to me. And the only reason that I'm tolerating any of this is because I want to make you regret having ever had anything to do with Meisei's baseball team. That is a pretty clear declaration of intent. Like I'm gonna sabotage this thing and make you feel like fools. But I don't know if he will.
Yeah, that's a strong conviction from him.
Yeah,
but
what's certain is that he hates these two guys and everybody else on that baseball team who subjected him to whatever treatment he got. I mean, he tells one of the guys, "You used to beat me up."
Yep.
Don't you remember? But I think, I don't know if this is ever confirmed, but I would hazard a guess that whatever has happened to his eyes is the result of the hazing that he experienced on the baseball team.
Yep.
I don't know that for sure. In fact, and I can't even remember if in the next 10 episodes we learn that or not. But that's my guess.
Right.
Like, obviously, this grudge is extremely powerful and has a lot of sway over his actions and his thoughts. So the idea that his poor vision, his failing vision, is a result of that it seems to make sense to me, because it's like, it's a scar essentially that he carries after whatever happened to him in his youth.
Yep. And I think that's a really good conversation between him and the two, because I remember like one of the two just say like like whatever happened, just just let the boys like doing their things, don't interfere with that. And he said that I wish you said that long time ago.
Yeah.
The sentence.
I wish I'd heard that a long time ago. Yeah. That's really that's a killer line. Because it really reveals the pain in his heart. Like he's a part of him is still that high school kid. You know, and that's what he wants to hear, but now it's too late.
Yep. That's right.
You know, but you know, at the same time, the fact that he even admits to wanting to have heard that, if he does still carry that high school kid inside of him, then hearing it even now must affect him in some way.
That's right. That's right. Because I do think that the whole point for him is to get this guy acknowledged their, you know, like their mistreatment to him.
Yeah.
And if he, you know, like achieve that goal, it's maybe the case that he would do anything that to sabotage the current team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he says. He like when he's talking to himself, his eyesight's failing. He just wants to see these people with stupid dreams. He wants to witness the moment that their dreams are crushed.
Yep.
And that's when we hear him think that to himself, that's one of the few moments that we're given access to his internal monologue. Most of the time we don't hear anything that he thinks. Or most of the time when we hear what a character is thinking, it's Minami, now that I think of it.
That's true.
When she speculates to herself about well, actually, the one phrase that I can remember her thinking to herself and us hearing the most is just when she thinks to herself, "Tachan," like when she's surprised or impressed or just feels any kind of way about something that he said or something that he's done. She'll think to herself, "Tachan." But in general, we don't hear characters' interior thoughts, especially not Kashiwaba's. So this is a big deal.
Well, Minami did say something in this part of 5 episodes, but it's more like, so I guess that the coach is a good person because the woman intuition is on my right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, it's not that he's a good person, but that he doesn't want revenge, because that's the question that she's, you know, Reiko denies multiple times. She says, "I can't believe that he would want revenge or anything like that. He's not that sort of man." And so Minami's like, "Well, case closed." But then at multiple points in these 5 episodes, we see that he is still very much bearing a grudge. Now, is he gonna take some definitive step to you know, prove to the people who once tormented him that everything that they worked for when they were young and everything that they did to hurt him, it was all in vain. It doesn't matter. Baseball is stupid, and they were wrong. I mean, whether or not he takes some step to get Meisei out of the running for the Koshien, that's how he feels. It's what I think it's what he wants to do. I don't know if he will, but I'm sure that he fantasizes about it, you know, because there are some scenes, I don't think we get any in these 5 episodes, but sometimes we get a scene of Kashiwaba alone in his apartment near the train tracks, and he's like smoking a cig, and there's a can of beer on the table, and it's just him lying back on his like 4.5 tatami mat room and staring up at the ceiling and just thinking. And you have to imagine that what's passing through his mind is a fantasy of him sabotaging Meisei and all the people who once tormented him, you know, being like, "Damn, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, that's right. And I must say that in this 5 episodes we get a lot of good moments from all the characters, and so I'm glad that this is like one of the maybe one of the best batch of 5 that we have watched so far.
Oh wow,
nice. It's still the landing. It's still the landing for me so far.
Well, we haven't reached the landing pad yet, but it certainly it does look as though we're going to get a nice easy touchdown. Yeah,
because we also get the moment of of Tachan feeling a bit pressure in episode 89, so that he could off. And people when other people when they see him cooping off will think that like he not responsible and he not even care, especially in case of Minami where she have like too much expectation from for him, but he just telling down his true feeling. I think this is a big step up for him, and the whole thing of like Minami realizing that I think that they nail it, they nail it on the visual side of things.
The visual side of things, in what way?
In the way that we see her like getting rev up for going to the stadium, and then just the next moment that she saw that Tachan is still there.
Oh, when she comes back into the cafe.
The whole direction. Yeah, the whole direction of it.
Yeah, the timing, is really good. Because
Yeah,
she walks out the door
yeah.
and then comes back and looks over, and there he is,
And look
eating
at
a
her
piece of
face,
pie or something like that.
And when her father say that like I'm trying this new pie, try it. I was half expecting that like Tachan gonna be like have a stomach.
Oh, don't you think that that's you just your own food poisoning experience? You're just associating that with them.
That all right. That happened in Cross Game.
Oh, did
So,
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did.
Huh. I forget. I mean,
So
I forget
yeah.
stuff. But I didn't remember that. That's crazy. We're gonna be watching some episodes of Cross Game very shortly, actually.
Yep.
Cross Game is
that's
coming
right.
up really soon. It's like only a couple days away in our
Yep.
best of the 2000s bracket. We may do a podcast episode on, maybe. Like 1 week that we're feeling lazy, we don't want to watch stuff. We could do a whole podcast episode about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot that happened in Cross Game. That would have been, I mean, I don't know if I really would have enjoyed that very much. Like him having to sit out of a really important game. It kind of would be in the spirit of like Adachi's kind of like playful, kind of tricky storytelling where anything can happen. But this really is Tatsuya's moment. He has to do this for Kazuya,
true.
for himself, for Minami, and for Kazuya too. So he can't sit on the sidelines.
And for
any
Meisei as
reason.
well.
Yeah, for Meisei, but
That's right.
if we're being real, it's really about the three main characters, like it always has been.
Yep, that's true.
He's doing this, and we from episode to episode, and from group to group of 5 episodes, since that's how we've been watching. There are moments when Tatsuya like resents the expectations that people have for him because of Kazuya, and episode 89, which is the one we've been talking about just here, is certainly one of those. He's not Kazuya, and he doesn't like that people see him that way. But he carries Kazuya's photo with him when he plays baseball. I mean, it's been Minami's photo, I think, in one instance. But what I think would be great is if he did both, like in the final game, because he's got his two back pockets. It would be great if he carried Kazuya's photo and Minami's. That would be cool. But
there's only one spot. You can do the 2 people there.
Would that be cheating?
Yeah.
He at the same time, like, even though he does resent the comparison to his brother, and I think that stems from a long history of feeling like, inferior to his brother for many years.
Yeah.
He still like talks to his brother when he's playing. When he's on the mound, on the baseball field, he thinks like, boy, it's a hot one out here today, Kazuya. Like or he'll even, there's even one episode, I can't remember which one it was. Of course, it was weeks and months ago that we watched it, where he like almost prays to him, asking him for strength. And I think if I had to hazard a guess, episode 88, which is the one where that's the best of 16 episode that qualifies them for the top 8. So that's the first of the 2 matches that happens in this batch of episodes. It's the one where Kashiwaba, his method of quote unquote sabotage is just to sit with his arms crossed the entire game and say and do nothing and give no signs.
Yeah, that's right.
Meisei wins because they don't need him, but after that game, there's a rainstorm. Correct. I don't know if you remember this, and it goes on for like a minute and a half. It's just scenes of characters like looking out windows as the rain falls, or shots of a roof where rain is like dripping off of it, and then the rain passes and the sun comes out. And I have to imagine that a scene like that is probably representative of like the idea, which is kind of floating around in the series somewhere, that Kazuya is witnessing everything that we see. Yep. There is something, and the series only acknowledges it here and there, but there is like a spiritual side to Touch. It only, peeks its head out every once in a while, but I can't imagine another reason for that rainstorm to be inserted in that episode and be so prominent, visually and in the script for so long. So, yeah, Kazuya's a big part. There's even even in episode 89, we check in with Tatsuya's parents. There's that scene where his mother and Minami in the clubhouse talking about Kazuya's death. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think that's fabulous.
Just it's just the idea of like of her moving on, and I think this is like she realized that this is a time of moving on, and like to have the courage to say that,
but she backs off.
Yeah, she backs off a bit, but like, it just to say that she did consider the idea of of moving on, and I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the reason she goes into the clubhouse is because she misses Kazuya. Like when Minami comes in, and which establishes the scene, the mother misses. What's her last name? Why can't I remember what their last name is? Tatsuya and Kazuya.
Uesugi or something.
Uesugi, that's right. When Mrs. Uesugi comes, when we see her, she's got her back turned to the camera and she's looking at one of Kazuya's old notebooks, which he's scribbled baseball stuff and he's drawn a baseball diamond in the scoreboard and she's, Minami comes in and it's clear that she like kind of wipes her face a little bit, so she was crying. It's that's if you think about it, that's the reason that scene happens there is to clue us into the fact that she misses her son, and what prompts her to do that, I think, because that episode opens with her and her husband. Her husband's reading the paper and he's like, wait a minute, Meisei's still in? they're in the top 8.
It's not only like favoritism, because I remember when Kazuya was a pitcher, he came to every single match, and when Tatsuya is a pitcher now, he didn't even like follow in that Meisei's advance.
Yeah. Well, I think, has he gone to any of Tatsuya's games before?
I don't think so. No.
Wow, I think you're right. Oh my God, that's a layer to this series I hadn't even considered. I mean, obviously Tatsuya is resentful of all the, how he was compared to Kazuya both then and now. First he was seen as the screw up older brother. Now he's seen as the replacement. He hates both. But man, his own father.
And even Minami fathers remember like when he's still working at the cafe, he always, like, I have to go to the match. Can you look after the cafe now?
Right.
And now he doesn't even bother to come.
Yeah.
He I think he still listen to the TV and radio, not to the extent of the father who didn't know that Messi team like advanced the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Huh.
and the husband and the mom and the father and mom had a really good talk about that as well.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at when I was like, that's how the episode opens. Later we see her in the clubhouse and we know it's because she misses Kazuya. She wants to be close to him, so she gets one of his notebooks out and looks through it. But what the episode opening with her and her sticking up for Tatsuya is just so, it's like, I don't know, it's really complex because the dad is kind of, belittling his own son a little bit by expressing such shock that Meisei is still in the hunt. And the mom, she loves her babies. She comes to Tatsuya's defense, like, well, they are twins. But even having said that, she still, it's Tatsuya's here now and he's succeeding. And even though she loves both of her sons equally, I'm sure, as that conversation with her husband reveals, even though Tatsuya is experiencing all the success, she still misses Kazuya.
Yeah, that's right. You missed the part.
What's that?
When she said like they still they are twin, and she said that Tatsuya is still our son.
Right.
I think that really did it because like they still they don't consider like Tatsuya to be a success at all.
Well, it's clear that the dad doesn't. And it's there's even more irony implicit in that scene because Tatsuya takes after his dad. He's a goof. He is. Like, do you remember very, very early on? I think this was very shortly after Kazuya's death, maybe in the late 20s in terms of episode count. There is a scene where Tatsuya is walking down the stairs to go to school and his dad like pops up wearing some sort of weird mask to scare him. I really vividly remember this scene because it just strikes you as being so counter to what the mood in the house would have been, which is like, totally despondent and depressed. But the dad in acting like a complete fool to get a little reaction out of his son or a little laugh, that moment kind of reveals that they have the same personality. And now that's paying off like 60 episodes in the future because as the dad is expressing such shock at Tatsuya's success, what he's really doing is, I think on some level, expressing like some doubt in himself. Was I really able to produce a kid who's like this successful? Wait, wasn't he just kind of a screw up like I am? What's going on here?
All right. Yep.
Yeah, but then that.
Yeah. So
should I take out Kazuya's desk? Like, man.
Yeah. That's crushing, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's like she's only. I don't know. It's like she's using Minami as a sounding board in that scene because she has feelings about like, is it time for me to move on yet? But she doesn't know. There's no book you can read. There's no like YouTube video you can watch that will prepare you for the death of your son. She doesn't know how to navigate it even now in the future. How long has it been since he died? Has it been 2 years? I guess it has, right?
Yeah,
because he died.
2 years.
Yeah, it's exactly
It's
2 years
UK.
at this point, right? Because he died at the end of the Koshien tournament or the qualifying tournament. And we're almost there now, 2 years in the future. So it's been 2 years. She still doesn't know what the right thing to do is, So she asks. She has to ask Minami because she doesn't know. But I think she arrives at her answer. She says it can happen. We can do it later,
Yep.
And I think Minami agrees.
Yep. And man, that's a lot of good moments, and even into the baseball match itself. So we got the quarterfinals. I think this is a really good showdown for a team that like they play against that we didn't even know anything about. But I still feel the suspense.
Yeah, you're talking about the three pitchers.
Yeah, the three pitches one.
Yeah, Akamiya is the name of the school, and yeah, it is. It's interesting. That's a really I really like that idea that you would, because and part of the reason why it works so well is because pitching is obviously a huge part of every single, like if Adachi's writing a baseball manga, the main character is the pitcher. It's just the most dramatic position. It's the most important position in baseball without doubt. And so, all eyes on the pitcher. And how do you want to characterize a brand new team? What do you want to do to make them stand out? Something about the pitching role.
Have a good pitchers.
Yeah, three pitchers. More pitchers. We need more pitchers. And they all have different throwing styles. I mean, honestly, I would have loved to see this game stretch on for more than just a single episode. Wait, does it?
Yeah. An episodes.
Yeah, it does, because the cliffhanger at the end of episode 90 is there's a runner stealing home. There's a guy running towards home plate after a bunt. And he ends up scoring in, I think, the 8th inning, giving Akamiya the lead, which, then obviously the series resolves with Meisei's victory. But yeah, so it was more than one episode. I would have liked even 2 full episodes of it, though. You don't have to give backstories to the 3 pitchers on Akamiya, but I would have liked to see Meisei struggle a little bit more to get a handle on each new pitcher's style. Both of these games,
because we have
episodes. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we have like a lot of slideshot of these, passing game.
Right, with the scoreboard in the background.
That's right.
Yeah.
Without them seeing them that actually struggle, so I would love to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. I do really like those scoreboard montages, because I think it's really cool that the scoreboard is in the background, and then we have the layer that shows like action shots of people sliding into a base or hitting a home run or whatever, and then on top of that we have the numbers on the scoreboard. So the image is layered that way, and you get to see the progress of the game as we pan to the right, and you even get to follow the score of the game in the process while you see those action shots. So I think that's I don't know, maybe Touch wasn't the first anime to do that, but I think it's a clever I don't know, time saving measure. It's just a good form of montage. But yeah, I mean, the Akamiya game in particular, I would like to have seen more, especially because like we've gotten a different form of interference from Kashiwaba every single game, but in these 2 games he does the same thing, which is nothing. You can interpret that as like building suspense for what he might do in the future, or you could interpret that as him like not being sure whether or not he wants to interfere, like maybe he's beginning to have a change of heart. But it does feel a little bit like the 2 games, they feel different. They feel distinct, but we're missing that wild card a little bit.
Yeah, well, not helping out is bad enough at this stage of the game. I think he also did some like mocking Tatsuya in some of the time as well.
Yeah, something about
I don't know about. Yeah,
I don't remember
exactly
either
what he said.
Yeah, but he says something along the lines of, especially because people have been looking up to him so much and drawing their confidence from him, which is the big, that's a big thing in episode 89. That's why he kind of runs and hides at Southwind for a while. Yep. He has no intention of like bailing on the game or anything, but everybody looking up to him, seeing him as a leader and drawing confidence from him. I think that plays into what Kashiwaba says to him. Like Don't you want to lead your team a little bit more like proactively, more successfully? Stop letting people get hits off of you so much. Don't you think that would be? Don't you think that's your role on this team? I think that was the gist of what he said to Tatsuya, which is pretty, like, it's a really, really it's a sophisticated way of saying, hey, you suck. Stop giving up so many runs, idiot.
Yep.
Like that's basically what he's saying to him. But Tatsuya usually in those situations has a smart remark. He fires right back. I think he does the same here.
Yeah. So and I think it's a really bold move from Tatsuya to do a bunt. At that point of the games.
I actually wanted to go into that in a little more detail because I know you're not really familiar with the rules of baseball, right?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, so the reason that was really ballsy is because, so you know that there are, if you get 4 balls, you get a walk and you get to go to first base automatically, and if you get 3 strikes, you're out. But you know that if you hit a foul ball, it doesn't count as strike 3. You get to keep batting. But there's a special rule in baseball that if there are 2 strikes and you bunt and it goes foul, you're out.
All right.
So that's exactly what Tatsuya did in that situation in the bottom of the 9th inning at the very end of the game with 2 outs and 2 strikes. If his bunt goes foul, the game is over. So no one would expect him to bunt there. No one. Yeah. You would have to be an insane person to bunt there. But that's exactly what he does. That's why people are like freaked out by the fact that he did that and they can't believe it. It's because if that bunt rolled foul, the game is over.
Yep. Ooh. But it
was the right thing to do. Like he knew no one would expect it, and he knew that what they needed was a run to tie the game, and that's exactly what they got on that play.
And it did affect the third pitcher as well, to the point that he just make a mistake later on.
Yeah, well, he walked 2 straight batters.
And that they have to switch to another pitcher, and one of the team member of Meisei did a pretty good job of intermitting that. Right. That's just a moment too shy for him. Yeah.
That's a little bit of liberty taken by Adachi because, the batter does not talk to the pitcher like that under any circumstances. First of all, they're too far away. They can't even really hear you. But in the way it's framed, it just keeps cutting back and forth, like the camera's in the middle of them and it's reverse shot. And he's like, oh, yes, I remember you. I remember you very well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a good scene nonetheless.
Yeah, it works. And, it works. But yeah, I mean, the reason that you're right, the reason that situation's set up is because Tatsuya bunting there, like fried the third pitcher's brains. He couldn't put the ball where he wanted after that, and he walked 2 straight batters, which set up the game-winning run. Yep.
All right. We got into Nishimura, who we have seen for the last I would say like 30 episodes that he got injury in his hand when he do the pitching.
Yeah, his elbow. It keeps doing that like freeze frame, and then the adjustment of color on the shot, like it reverses color. The background's black and his elbow's white, kind of like, I think the idea is an X-ray. On an X-ray scan, it has that color profile. Yeah. It kind of, those particular shots, when it does that, it uses that little like rattling sound effect. Reminds me of Dezaki, like the sound effects that were used in Aim for the Ace.
Aim for the Ace, yeah. Or even The Road of Ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Just those like Touch. I don't think Touch is very much like that series at all. It's not. It doesn't appear to be in Dezaki's style. It's a little bit too naturalistic for that, whereas Dezaki's work is like extremely heightened. But just those little individual scenes where Nishimura's elbow does that, I'm like, immediately Aim for the Ace just comes to the forefront of my brain. You're right. We have seen him struggling with that injury for a long time, and now finally, it's done its damage.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to lose, so I think it's a really bossy move from Adachi to do that. In order for like we also suspect that Tatsuya have to meet Nishimura at on the same list. It's not the case at all. Yeah. And Adachi instead used this opportunity to to put more insight about Nishimura, which I really appreciate.
Yep.
Like
yeah, he's
still
and the manager.
Yeah. And the manager as well. That's right.
I can't remember her name. So, I feel like it would be really disrespectful for me not to name her. I mean, obviously she's a fictional character, so it doesn't matter. But
I don't even know if I recall her name anywhere.
I mean, I don't, but I'll find it. So yeah, I mean, you're right. We do learn a lot about Nishimura. It's the biggest spotlight that he's gotten in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with his relationship to the manager, who is his childhood friend in the same way that Minami is Tatsuya's.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. And the final scene that he talked to Tatsuya at the swimming pool, that one is also really, really good as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nishimura is definitely a character who likes to project a certain image, whenever he asks Minami out on a date, or even more to the point, whenever he goes to Southwind and Minami is not there, he refers to her father as Otosan, like as though he's his father-in-law.
Father.
Yeah, like he and Minami are destined to be married or something. It's kind of weird, but he really likes to create a certain image for himself. And
yep.
He does the same thing in this scene with Tatsuya. As we find out from Yuka, he walked a batter into home. So the bases were loaded, and he walked someone. He couldn't control his pitches. He threw 4 balls, and he walked them, and the guy just walked right in. That's the worst way that you can lose as a pitcher.
I don't get it. So
the bases are loaded, right?
Yep.
There's someone on first, second, and third. So if you walk the batter, everyone gets to move 1 base forward. So the guy who is at bat goes to first, and everyone else goes forward as well. So since there was a man on third base, he gets to come home and he scores a run.
Right.
So Nishimura didn't even give up a grounder or a line drive or a home run. They didn't even put the bat on the ball. He just couldn't control his pitches, and since the bases were loaded, they lost the game. Yeah, it's the worst way you can lose as a pitcher. And that's how he lost, and he broke down on the mound and cried, which is so counter to everything that we think that we know about him. But the truth is, he's just as vulnerable as anybody else. Yeah, and even though he put on a show for Tatsuya, acting all cool and being like, it got away from me, my grandmother died, and I wasn't sure how to feel about the grandmother dying detail, because he says it's not, of course it's not her fault, but then why was it even written in to begin with?
Yeah, that's right. It's still sound like an excuse to me, the way that he say that.
Right. I think that's the idea, is that he brings it up like, oh, well, I was really dealing with this other thing, and he says, of course it's not my grandmother's fault, but he still wants to create a little excuse for himself. That's very, very in character for him.
Yeah.
But the thing about his relationship to the manager, that's also a big part of the episode, and there are 2 moments where he sees a girl's face, like in his mind's eye. The first one is after the manager, whose name I have not been able to find. I apologize. 40 years after the airing of this anime, I apologize to the woman who voiced her and to the man who wrote her character. I can't figure out what her name is. But
No, that's
he
right.
the first time that he sees a girl's face, he sees Minami's face like imprinted on his glove.
Yep.
After she's kind of like, she's fretting over him, and she is afraid because she knows that he's sustained this injury.
Yep.
The second time that he sees a girl's face, it's her. It's the manager. He sees her face on the surface of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of resigned himself to the fact that his childhood friend is nothing like Minami. But I think that very subtly the episode implies that he comes to terms with that. Like he really does like this girl, and even though he wants to be the big shot with the neighborhood hottie on his arm, that's not, that's Minami is not his, and he doesn't get to be the hero or the winner, and he is like slowly comes to grips with that. He recognizes that there's a girl who loves him and who takes care of him and wants the best for him, and that he loves her too. He treats her very cruelly in this episode. The towel that she brings to him, he throws in the dirt, cleans his spikes with it, and then gives it back to her. But there's a scene, maybe it's that scene. There's a certain scene in this episode where there's a song playing, and the feeling that I got from that song, and it was a scene where he and the manager had just been talking to one another. There's a song playing that is like almost victorious. There's an electric guitar playing the melody, and it's as though a character has won something, like triumphed somehow. And the feeling that I got from the song was that somehow he realized, he recognized that this was the girl for him. Maybe I'm like reading too much into it. I don't know. But we know, thanks to Mix, that they end up married in the future. So he gets it. He's not gonna have Minami. Minami's not gonna be his woman.
Yep, that's right. And there's one last detail that I want to mention before that we're closing up this patch, is that Kashiwama eyes condition getting worse, and this is
Right.
the first time that that other members of the team saw him as well.
Right. The Kotaro scene.
Yep, that's right.
The glasses. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So yeah, that will be interesting to see, because I think this is getting into the point that Kashiwama, it's the worst condition that he got. Yeah. So I think at that point he can see anything. He cannot see anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. Because the way he's keeping his hand in contact with the wall and walking really slowly. Yeah, I think you're right. He can't see a thing.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see like how his eyesight gonna be, what kind of role it's gonna play in the future in terms of his redemption and his act in general.
Right. Well, there's one good thing that might come out of his failing eyesight, and that's that he won't be able to
sabotage.
Yeah, he won't be able to sabotage Meisei as easily. I mean, obviously he can still say at the start of the game, okay, Tatsuya's not pitching or something along those lines, but he can't follow the game as closely to know exactly what the right moment is to intervene and mess up their chances.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a potential benefit, I guess, as terrible as that is to say.
Yeah, my only complaint for the last for this part of 5 episode is we see a lot less of Yuka in in this five, and I still don't know why Yuka is not in the uh in this home team instead of CC staying like in this spectators crowd.
That's been a regular occurrence, right? I don't think the manager gets to stay in the dugout at official games.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Right.
because even when Minami was manager, when Kazuya
that
was
is
the
true.
pitcher,
Yep.
she was always in the stands. And what she would do is she would record the
Yeah.
box score, so everything that happened in the game, like how many pitches there were and
Yep.
where the ball was hit, everything. She was recording all of that. And we've seen Yuka
Yep.
do something similar, although now Sasaki has taken over that role. Sasaki
Taken
gets
it.
a cool scene too,
Yeah,
where
that's
he's
right.
the guy who
Yep,
like the
yep,
rough
yep.
looking guy. He's like naming all the dates and historical events and stuff. You know.
I don't know what the deal is, but I still think that's cool, and
Yeah.
you can call it out.
Yeah, well,
He's
see,
wrong.
that's the thing. It's like his moment to like kind of step up and quote unquote protect her and be like the big man. So he chases away this guy who is clearly bigger and stronger than he is, just with his knowledge of historical events. But then she's like, "Nope, you got one of those wrong."
And even like the big guy, he says some of the name, the random name that is exactly like the guy where
Harada.
Harada
Yep.
yeah chase the other guy
Hey,
around.
Nakamura!
It's just so funny, like yep.
Yeah,
Hey, Nakamura.
that's classic Adachi.
Oh,
Just inventing a
I
tiny
come
little
to
gag
love,
that'll recur a couple times.
yeah. I come to love Harada and Minami, like when they meet up.
Right.
Has happening a lot in this, like in this last third of the series, and I enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, well, she can't really hang out with Tatsuya because
Yeah, that's right.
he's either practicing or he's playing a game. We hardly ever see them at school. I mean, I guess they are still taking classes together, right? It's not summer vacation.
Yep. The
Or
last
is
time
it?
I think they talked together is like they was under the stair looking up to the girl walking up upstairs. Oh, walking through the stair. Remember that?
No, I don't. What is
And
this?
all right, yeah. So they are under the stair, and they talk. I think Harada talked to Tatsuya about like,
Oh, they're looking up the girls' skirts.
Yep, that's right.
I thought you were when you said they. I thought you were talking about Tatsuya and Minami.
Yep.
They actually
Yeah.
talk at Southwind
Yep.
in these episodes. So, yeah. But
That-
yes,
yeah,
Harada
yeah.
and Tatsuya, yeah, they don't. They aren't spending a lot of time together because Harada has his own responsibilities as the captain of the boxing team,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
basically just hazing, as Minami calls out. She says, "You're gonna go haze them, huh?" He's like, "Oh, that's just training." Harada is still a
I love
punk.
that.
We know that that's his origin because of he used to be in the same gang as what's his name?
Oh, Nita.
Yuka's older brother. What's his name?
Yeah, Nita.
Yeah, Nita, that's right.
I don't know his first name though.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm sure we've learned it, but yeah, Nita's
Yeah.
good enough. We know that Harada he's a gangster. So you better
Yeah.
believe he's going to be hazing these guys. Hopefully he's not hazing them the same way that, Kashiwaba was hazed.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully we can put our trust in him that that's not happening. But yeah, it's true. We don't see him much with Tatsuya anymore, and that he probably appreciates that because this episode makes it clear as if it weren't already clear that he has a crush on Minami.
Who?
Harada.
Harada?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it?
Oh, 100%, man. Because after he kicks that guy out, he's like, "There's more room over there,"
This-
and the guy's like, "Yo, Nakamura," and he runs off. Minami makes a comment like, "Oh, poor guy. You didn't have to do that to him. Poor
Yeah.
guy." And Harada says, "Oh, it's not that big a deal. It's not like I'm going to get any closer to you than I am now. She looks over at him and he says, poor guy. Referring to himself, that he can't get any closer to Minami.
All right. That's interesting.
I know there have been other
yeah.
little hints that the series has dropped in past episodes, indicating that he likes Minami, but he understands that what Tatsuya and Minami have going on. He understands that better than anybody, probably.
Yep. Right.
So he's not going to mess with that because he's a bro. He's a true friend.
Yep, he's a bro. Yep. So there are only 2 more weeks of Touch, and we get done of Touch after a really long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, did we just talk about Touch for an hour?
Yeah, that's right. So I think we can cut it short now.
Yeah. Let's sign off. We'll be back later. Whenever.
Yep. All right. Yep. So gonna see you guys soon.
Adios.
Bye.